The courtroom was silent. Everyone's eyes were on the small boy standing in the middle of the room. He looked too young to be here, too small to face something so serious. His hands were shaking, but his face was calm. He had short, messy brown hair and big, frightened eyes. His clothes were old, a little too big for him, as if they belonged to someone else before. He stood in front of the judge, waiting for his fate. His mother sat on a bench behind him, her face wet with tears. She covered her mouth, trying to hold back a sob. She wanted to say something, to protect him, but she was too weak, too scared. The judge was a tall, serious man with gray hair and a heavy voice. He looked at the boy with cold eyes. He had seen many criminals in his life, but never one this young. He cleared his throat and spoke. "Alex Carter, you have been found guilty of stealing. The law does not change for anyone, not even a child. You will be sent to juvenile jail." Gasps filled the courtroom. The boy did not cry. He did not beg for mercy. He only took a deep breath and looked down at his shoes. The police officer standing beside him moved closer, ready to take him away. His mother broke down, sobbing loudly now, shaking her head. "Please, Your Honor," she cried. "He is just a child." But the judge did not look at her. His decision had been made. Just as the officer reached for Alex's arm, the boy finally spoke. His voice was soft but clear, cutting through the heavy silence in the room. "I didn't steal for myself." His words made the judge pause. The officer stopped. The whole courtroom went quiet again. The judge raised an eyebrow. "What did you say?" he asked. Alex lifted his head. His hands were no longer shaking. There was something in his eyes now, something strong, something unbreakable. He spoke again, louder this time. "I didn't steal for myself," he repeated. "I did it to save someone's life." Murmurs spread through the courtroom. People exchanged looks, whispering to each other. What was he talking about? The judge leaned forward, studying the boy's face. "Explain yourself," he ordered. Alex took another deep breath. He turned his head slightly and looked at his mother. Her hands were still covering her mouth, her eyes full of pain. He looked back at the judge and swallowed hard. "My little sister, Lily, she was dying," he said. His voice trembled for the first time. "She needed medicine. We had no money. I had no choice." A heavy silence filled the room. The judge blinked, caught off guard. The officer beside Alex looked at the judge, waiting for his next move. The people in the courtroom leaned in, eager to hear more. Even Alex's lawyer, who had been expecting the worst, seemed surprised. The judge tapped his fingers on the desk, thinking. He had sentenced many criminals before, but none had ever said something like this. "And where were your parents?" he asked, his voice slightly softer now. Alex lowered his head again. "My father left us years ago," he said. "And my mother, she's too sick to work. We barely have enough to eat. Lily got sick one night. She was burning with fever. I asked for help, but no one listened. No one cared." His small hands curled into fists. "So I did what I had to do." A woman in the back gasped. Someone whispered, "Poor child." The judge remained silent for a long time. He stared at the boy, as if trying to see the truth in his eyes. Then he finally spoke. "You are saying you stole because your sister was sick?" Alex nodded firmly. "Yes, I stole food and medicine. Not for me. For her." The judge sat back in his chair. His face showed no emotion, but his fingers had stopped tapping. The officer beside Alex shifted on his feet, uncomfortable. The lawyer cleared his throat, as if ready to argue. The judge sighed, rubbing his temple. "Stealing is still a crime, no matter the reason," he said. Alex met the judge's gaze, and for the first time, there was fire in his eyes. "If you had a sister and she was dying, what would you do?" he asked. The courtroom fell into complete silence. The question hung in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. The judge opened his mouth but said nothing. The people in the room waited for his answer, but none came. For the first time in years, the judge did not know what to say. "You said." The courtroom remained silent. The judge tapped his fingers on the desk, deep in thought. No one had ever questioned him like that before, especially not a 10-year-old boy. The boy's eyes held no fear now. He had already accepted his fate, but he wanted the judge to understand. Alex stood tall, waiting for a response. His mother wiped her tears, watching her son with a mix of pride and sorrow. The officer beside him shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the judge, unsure of what would happen next. The judge finally cleared his throat. "Tell me everything," he said. His voice was no longer as firm as before. "I want to hear the full truth." Alex took a deep breath. His small fingers gripped the sides of his too big shirt. "My little sister, Lily, is only 6 years old," he began. "She's the sweetest person I know. She loves to draw, and she always tries to make Mama smile, even when things are bad." He paused, his voice catching for a moment. The courtroom listened closely. No one dared to interrupt. "Mama got sick a long time ago," Alex continued. "She used to work hard, but one day she couldn't anymore. She started coughing a lot, and she got weaker and weaker. We had no money for a doctor. I tried to help, but no one wanted to hire a kid. So we did the best we could with what little we had." The judge watched him carefully. His expression remained neutral, but something in his eyes had changed. "Then one night," Alex went on, "Lily got sick, really sick. She had a fever. She was shaking, and her face was so pale. I stayed up all night with her, but she kept getting worse. Mama tried to help, but she could barely stand. I knew if we didn't get medicine soon, I would lose her." His voice cracked on the last words. A few people in the courtroom lowered their heads. Even the officer's face softened. Alex swallowed hard before continuing. "I ran to the pharmacy first," he said. "I begged the man there. I told him my sister was sick, that I would pay him later. He just laughed and told me to leave. He said I was lying." He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. "I went to another store, then another. No one helped me. No one even cared." The judge leaned forward slightly. "And then?" he asked. Alex lifted his chin. "Then I made a choice," he said. "I waited until it was late. When the grocery store was almost empty, I sneaked in. I took a few things, some food for Mama and Lily, and I took the medicine Lily needed." Murmurs spread through the courtroom again. Some people shook their heads, while others looked at Alex with pity. "I was careful," Alex continued. "I didn't break anything. I didn't take money. I just wanted to save my sister." His voice was stronger now. "I was almost home when the police caught me. I told them why I did it, but they didn't listen. They just put me in a car and brought me here." He turned to face the judge directly. "I know stealing is wrong," he said, "but what else was I supposed to do? Let my sister die?" The courtroom fell into silence once again. The judge exhaled slowly. He looked down at his papers, but for the first time, he wasn't sure what to say. The boy had broken the law. That was clear. But had he truly done something wrong? "You said." The courtroom remained silent. The judge tapped his fingers against the desk, deep in thought. The boy's words echoed in his mind. "Let my sister die." It was a question no one in the room could answer easily. Alex stood still, his small hands clenched into fists. His heart pounded in his chest, but he didn't look away from the judge. He had told the truth. Now, all he could do was wait. His mother sat on the wooden bench behind him, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She wanted to hold her son, to tell him everything would be okay. But she had no power here. She could only watch as a stranger decided her child's fate. The judge took a deep breath and turned toward the police officer standing beside Alex. "Where did you find the boy?" he asked. The officer, a tall man with a serious face, hesitated before answering. "He was running home, Your Honor," he said. We saw him near the grocery store. He had a small bag with him. When we stopped him, he didn't run or fight. He just looked up at us and said, "Please don't take the medicine." A few people in the courtroom gasped. A woman in the back whispered, "Oh, the poor boy." The officer continued, his voice softer now. "We took him to the station. He kept asking if someone could take the medicine to his sister. He didn't care about himself, only about her." He paused, glancing at Alex. "That's not something you see every day." The judge's expression didn't change, but he nodded slowly. He turned to Alex's mother. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice firm but not unkind, "is what your son said true? Are you sick?" The woman wiped her eyes and nodded. Her voice was weak, barely above a whisper. "Yes, Your Honor. I lost my job months ago. I used to work as a cleaner, but I got sick. I couldn't work anymore. I tried to find help, but no one would listen. My little girl needed medicine. My son, he's just a boy, but he did what no one else would." Tears welled up in her eyes again. "He's a good boy, Your Honor. He's only 10 years old. He shouldn't be in jail. Please, don't send him away. I'll pay for what he took, I swear." The judge let out another slow breath. He tapped his fingers on the desk. The room was so quiet that every tap echoed loudly. He turned back to Alex. "You understand that stealing is a crime, don't you?" he asked. Alex nodded. "Yes, sir," he said. "But I wasn't thinking about right or wrong. I was thinking about my sister. I just wanted her to get better. That's all that mattered." The judge studied him for a long moment. "Do you regret what you did?" Alex swallowed. He could feel his mother's eyes on him. He could hear people whispering around him, waiting for his answer. He took a deep breath. "No, sir," he said firmly. "I don't regret it. If I could go back, I'd do it again." Gasps filled the room. Some shook their heads, others looked away, while a few wiped at their eyes. The officer standing beside Alex looked down at the boy, as if seeing him in a new light. The judge tapped his fingers on the desk one last time, then sat forward, his sharp eyes locked onto Alex. "I have made my decision," he announced. "Alex Carter, I hereby sentence you." The courtroom held its breath. The entire room fell silent. Every person in the courtroom leaned in, waiting for the judge's final decision. Alex stood straight, his small hands still curled into fists. He could feel his mother's eyes on him, her breath caught in her throat. His heart pounded so hard he thought everyone could hear it. The judge's face remained serious, his lips pressed into a firm line. "Alex Carter," he said again, his voice steady but unreadable. "I hereby sentence you." Before he could finish, a woman in the courtroom suddenly stood up. "Wait," she called out. All heads turned toward her. She was in her mid-40s, wearing a neat blue dress and glasses. Her face was filled with concern as she clutched her purse tightly. "Your Honor," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I was there that night. I saw everything." The judge raised an eyebrow. "And who are you?" he asked. The woman took a deep breath. "My name is Margaret Dawson. I was in the store that night. I saw this boy take the medicine and the food, but he didn't just run away. He tried to pay." Alex's eyes widened in surprise. He recognized the woman. She was there that night. He remembered her face. "He had some coins," she continued. "Just a few. He put them on the counter and begged the cashier to take them. But the man just laughed at him, called him a thief before he even took anything." The courtroom was completely focused on her now. The judge listened, his fingers no longer tapping. The woman turned to the judge, her voice shaking with emotion. "Your Honor, I watched him. He wasn't trying to steal out of greed. He wasn't doing it for himself. He was crying while he begged for help. When the man refused, he took what he needed and ran, but not before leaving every single coin he had. He didn't even take more than what was necessary. Just one bottle of medicine and a little bread. That's all. A man near the front of the room, wearing a fancy suit, cleared his throat. "If I may, Your Honor," he said, standing up. "I am the owner of that store. I heard about this incident last night. I was not there when it happened, but I checked the security cameras this morning." He nodded at Alex. "What she says is true. The boy left money on the counter. It wasn't much, but he left everything he had." Another round of murmurs spread through the courtroom. Even the judge looked taken aback. He sat in silence for a moment, his fingers tapping against the wood again. His eyes flickered between the boy and the witness. He glanced at Alex's mother, her frail body trembling with every breath. After what felt like an eternity, the judge spoke. "Is your sister all right?" he asked. Alex hesitated, his lips pressing together. His eyes filled with tears. "I don't know," he whispered. "I haven't seen her since last night." At that moment, something changed in the judge's expression. The firm, emotionless mask he had worn through the trial softened. He exchanged a look with the officer, then nodded to the clerk beside him. "Bring the mother forward," he ordered. Alex turned to see his mother struggling to stand. Her hands were trembling as she stepped forward, holding onto the wooden barrier for support. She was pale, her clothes loose on her thin frame. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. Then she tried again. "Lily was so sick when we got home last night," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "But she's feeling better now, because of the medicine Alex brought." Tears streamed down Alex's face. Relief washed over him like a warm wave. He had saved his sister. She was okay. That was all that mattered. The judge remained silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his robe and looked at Alex. "You should not have stolen, no matter the reason," he said, "but I can see now that you are not a criminal." Alex felt a lump rise in his throat. Did that mean he wouldn't be taken away? He held his breath. "Young man," the judge continued, "your actions were against the law, but they were not selfish. You tried to do what you thought was right. This court has a duty to uphold justice, but it also has a duty to understand the truth." The judge glanced at the officer. "Let him go." Alex's mother gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. The officer hesitated for a moment, then let go of the boy's arm. The judge turned to the courtroom. "Is there a doctor here?" A man in the front row stood. "I am," he said. "I can check on the little girl." The judge nodded. "Do so immediately, and if the family needs further help, I want this court to ensure they get it." He turned back to Alex. "You are free to go, son, but promise me one thing." Alex wiped his tears and looked up. "What is it?" The judge gave him a small, rare smile. "Promise me you'll never steal again." Alex nodded, his voice firm. "I promise." His mother sobbed as she pulled him into a tight hug. The people in the courtroom clapped, some even cheering. The judge banged his gavel once more. Case dismissed. As Alex and his mother walked out of the courtroom, people came up to them, offering help, money, food, even a job for his mother. He looked up at her, and for the first time in months, he saw hope in her tired eyes. Alex turned back to the judge and the kind woman in the blue dress. "Thank you," he whispered. The judge gave him a small smile. The woman in blue knelt down and touched his shoulder. "You are a brave boy, Alex," she said, "and you have a good heart." As he walked out of the courthouse, hand in hand with his mother, Alex felt something he hadn't in a long time: hope. And this time, it wasn't just a dream. Alex and his mother stepped out of the courthouse, the cold air hitting their faces. His heart was still pounding from everything that had just happened. He was free. He wasn't going to be taken away. But even though the judge had let him go, he couldn't shake the worry in his chest. His sister was still sick. He had no idea if she was okay. Holding his mother's trembling hand, he turned to her. "We need to go home, Mom. We need to check on Lily." His mother nodded quickly, wiping the tears from her face. "Yes, we need to get back to her." But just as they started down the courthouse steps, a voice stopped them. "Wait." Alex turned around. It was Margaret Dawson, the woman from the store. She was hurrying toward them with the doctor who had spoken in court. "Let us help," she said gently. The doctor placed a warm hand on Alex's shoulder. "Your mother needs medical attention, and so does your sister. If you let me, I'd like to come with you. I can take a look at her." Alex hesitated, looking up at his mother. She had always been too proud to ask for help, but right now she didn't argue. She simply nodded, her eyes glistening with gratitude. Together, they walked down the sidewalk toward their tiny apartment. Alex's mother moved slowly, every step seeming to take all her strength. Alex kept glancing up at her, his stomach twisting with worry. What if the doctor said there was nothing he could do? When they reached the building, Alex pushed the door open and rushed inside. "Lily," he called. "Lily, I'm home." A weak voice called from the small mattress in the corner. Alex. His little sister lay there, her face pale and sweaty. Her blonde hair was sticking to her forehead, and she barely opened her eyes when she heard his voice. "Alex," she whispered. "I'm here, Lily," he said, kneeling beside her. "Everything's okay. I got your medicine." The doctor quickly knelt beside him, placing a hand on her forehead. "She has a fever," he said, pulling out his stethoscope. He listened to her chest, his expression serious. "She's very weak." Alex's mother sat down on the floor, her breathing heavy. Margaret knelt beside her, gently placing a hand on her back. "It's okay," she whispered. "We'll help." The doctor pulled out a small flashlight, checking Lily's eyes. "She needs rest and food," he said. "But the good news is, the medicine he took is exactly what she needed." He looked at Alex with admiration. "You saved her life, young man." Relief flooded through Alex's body. For the first time in days, he felt like he could breathe. Margaret stepped forward, handing his mother an envelope. "Take this," she said. "It's some money to help you get by. Food, medicine, whatever you need." His mother gasped. "I can't accept this. It's too much." "Please," Margaret insisted. "You're a mother trying to take care of her children. No one should have to steal to survive." She hesitated, then added, "And I know a woman who owns a cleaning business. She's looking for help. I think we can find you a job." Alex's mother broke down, covering her mouth with her hands as fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I don't know how to thank you." "Just take care of your family," Margaret said warmly. At that moment, Lily let out a small cough, and the doctor smiled. "Her fever is already going down," he said. "She's going to be okay." Alex let out a shaky breath. His heart, which had been tight with worry, finally felt light. He leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss on Lily's forehead. She managed a tiny smile. That night, for the first time in a long time, they had a real meal. Alex's mother made warm soup with the food they had been given. Lily sat up in bed, taking slow spoonfuls. The color was already returning to her cheeks. As they ate, Alex's mother reached across the table and took his hand. "You saved her," she whispered. "You're my hero." Alex looked down at his bowl, embarrassed. "I just did what I had to." "Yes," his mother said softly. "And that's why I know you're going to be an amazing man someday." For the first time in a long time, Alex allowed himself to believe it. Maybe things would get better. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. And for the first time in weeks, he let himself smile. That night, Alex lay awake in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. His little sister, Lily, was breathing peacefully beside him, her fever finally breaking. The doctor had given her more medicine before leaving and assured them she would recover. His mother sat near the small kitchen table, reading the label on the medicine bottle again. She still looked weak, but there was something different about her now. Hope. For the first time in months, they had a warm meal, a roof over their heads, and someone who cared about them. Just a day ago, Alex had thought his life was over. He had stood in a courtroom waiting for a judge to decide his fate. He had been so sure he would be sent away. But now, lying next to Lily, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. As he turned over to face his sister, he saw her eyes flutter open. "Alex," she whispered. He sat up quickly. "Lily, you're awake." She gave him a weak smile. "You saved me." Alex's throat tightened. "You're going to be okay," he said. "The doctor said so. You're going to get better." Lily reached for his hand and held it tight. "I knew you'd come back," she whispered before her eyes slowly closed again. Alex sat up, watching her sleep. He still didn't know what would happen next, but at least his sister was safe. That was all that mattered. The next morning, Alex woke up to the sound of voices in the kitchen. He rubbed his tired eyes and slowly got out of bed. His mother was talking to someone in a gentle, hopeful voice. When he stepped into the small kitchen, he saw Margaret and the doctor sitting at their tiny table. His mother looked up at him with a soft smile. "Good morning, Alex," she said. "Come sit down." Alex hesitated, his eyes shifting between the two adults. "Is everything okay?" Margaret smiled. "Yes, Alex, everything is okay." She reached into her bag and pulled out some papers. "Your mother and I were just talking. My friend is offering her a full-time job at her cleaning company. And I want to help too." She took his hand gently. "So I'm going to make sure you and your sister have what you need. No more stealing. No more worrying." Alex's eyes widened. "You mean we're not alone anymore?" Margaret nodded. "That's right, sweetheart. You have people who care about you." Tears filled Alex's eyes, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from something else, relief. He looked at his mother, who was also crying softly. But these weren't the same tears of pain she had been shedding for months. This was something different. "Thank you," Alex whispered, his voice shaking. "Thank you." Margaret squeezed his hand. "You're a brave boy, Alex, and you have a bright future ahead of you. Never forget that." For the first time in a long time, Alex believed it. He wasn't just a boy who stole medicine. He was a boy who saved his sister, and now, for the first time in what felt like forever, he had hope that things would finally get better. A week had passed since the trial, and everything was finally starting to change for the better. Lily had fully recovered, her cheeks no longer pale and her body full of energy again. She ran around their small home, giggling as she played with the worn-out teddy bear Alex had given her for her last birthday. Their mother had started her new job at the cleaning company. It wasn't much, but it was honest work, and it meant they finally had money for food, rent, and medicine. She came home every evening looking tired, but there was something new in her eyes. Determination. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of what tomorrow might bring. Alex was still getting used to this new life. He no longer had to search through trash for food or beg for coins. Margaret had even bought him a new pair of shoes, ones without holes. But even with all these changes, he still felt something heavy in his chest. The trial, the judge, the courtroom. It still haunted him. The way people had looked at him, like he was a criminal, like he was nothing more than a thief. One afternoon, he walked home from school, deep in thought. The other kids ignored him, as they always had. He didn't mind. He had gotten used to being invisible. As he walked up the stairs to his home, he paused when he saw someone standing outside the door. It was the judge. Alex's heart started racing. Was he here to take him away? Had he changed his mind? "Good morning, Alex," the judge said with a kind smile. "May I come in?" Alex hesitated but then nodded. He pushed the door open, calling for his mother. She appeared from the small kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Her eyes widened when she saw who was standing there. "Your Honor," she said nervously. The judge raised a hand. "There's no need to be afraid," he said gently. "I'm not here to take Alex away. In fact, I came to see how you're doing." Alex and his mother exchanged a confused glance. The judge smiled. You see, Alex, after your trial, I couldn't stop thinking about you. What you did for your sister, well, it made me realize something. He sighed, looking at Alex's mother. I realized that the law is not always fair to people like you. Good people who are simply trying to survive. He placed a small envelope on the table. This is for you. It's not much, but it should help you get back on your feet. His mother hesitated before slowly reaching for it. Her eyes widened. I can't accept this. You can, the judge insisted. And you will. Margaret, who had been standing quietly, stepped forward. You don't have to struggle alone anymore. There are good people in this world who want to help. Alex's mother wiped away tears. I don't know how to thank you. The judge smiled softly. Just promise me one thing, he said, turning to Alex. Promise me you'll keep that good heart of yours, that you'll grow up to help others the way people are helping you now. Alex nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I promise. The judge patted his shoulder. Then my work here is done. As the judge left, Alex sat down beside his sister and took her hand. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, he felt safe. He wasn't just a lost boy in a cruel world anymore. He was someone who had people looking out for him. He was someone who mattered. And as he looked at his mother, who was holding the envelope with teary eyes, and his sister, who was slowly but surely getting better, he knew one thing for certain. He was never going to let them suffer again. He had been a thief once, but now he was something more. He was a fighter, and he was ready to prove it.